Joining us now is Ojinika Ojiope with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. How are you this morning?
I hope you've been buying fuel. At the new rates.
We don't have a choice, do we?
Scary, isn't it?
It is scary, but you can't fill up your tank these days. You just buy what you can afford.
Fill up now, your mate.
Fill up now. I didn't see your video, by the way.
Fill up now, your mate. You
Good
can't
morning,
try.
Ayo. How are you this morning? Perfect. Good morning, Rufai.
They've just abbreviated our freedom of movement. Because we can't be going about like smallpox anymore.
No more Owambe for you for a while, Dr. Abati. It's okay. Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe.
From Geneva, Switzerland, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, in a tweet on Monday, expressed disappointment at Russia's decision to halt its participation in the Black Sea Grain Initiative. The former Nigerian Minister of Finance also stated in the tweet that the stoppage of the deal will be felt most severely by poor countries because the Black Sea trade in food, feed, and fertilizer is critical to the stability of global food prices. In Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu returned to the nation's capital, Abuja, on Monday after attending the 5th Media Coordination Meeting of the African Union in Nairobi, Kenya. The president, who attended the AU summit in his capacity as the chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, reaffirmed Africa's unity and strength at the meeting and firmly rejected any notion of a new scramble for Africa. In Kenya, 12 more bodies were exhumed on Monday from the expansive Shakahola forest in the country's coastal region, pushing the death toll from a shocking starvation cult past the 400 mark. The victims were allegedly instructed by preacher Paul Mackenzie to retreat to the forest and starve to death to facilitate their ascension to heaven, where they would meet Jesus Christ. The 12 bodies exhumed were retrieved from 5 graves. At least 30 more graves are yet to be searched. Under sports, 23-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic was fined $8,000 on Monday for smashing his racket against the net post during the Wimbledon men's singles final on Sunday. The incident occurred in the 5th set of his loss to Spain's Carlos Alcaraz when the 36-year-old Serbian serve was broken in the 3rd game. The money will be deducted from his runner-up check of £1.175 million. Alcaraz's victory at the All England Club denied Djokovic a 24th Grand Slam title. Finally, under entertainment, music legend Sir Elton John gave evidence as a defense witness at actor Kevin Spacey's sexual assault trial on Monday. The 76-year-old musician was asked about Spacey's attendance at the party hosted at his home in Windsor. Spacey is alleged to have sexually assaulted a man who was driving him to the event. The Hollywood star, who won an Oscar for Best Actor in 2000 for American Beauty, as well as Emmy nominations for his role in House of Cards, has pled not guilty to 12 sexual offense charges against 4 men between 2001 and 2013.
Well, let's begin what's trending. Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborowori on Monday visited the family of a 2-year-old boy who was killed by stray bullets, reportedly from operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in the state's capital on Thursday, July 13th. The NDLEA officials allegedly fired the bullets, which killed the 2-year-old boy Ivan and left his 1-year-old brother wounded in the left eye. Oborowori visited the family at the Federal Medical Center, Asaba, where the 1-year-old boy is receiving treatment. Well, on July 13th, a video of the boy's father crying out for help when the incident occurred went viral.
They have killed my family! They have killed my family! They have killed my daughter in the shop. NDLEA, please, NDLEA have killed my daughter with straight bullet because they want to do an arrest within the neighborhood. They shoot bullets. He came to meet my daughter and my son in the shop. Please, people should help me. I'm following them now. I'm following them. I'm following them. God, oh.
It's so sad. Well, during his visit, the Delta State governor commiserated with the family on the unfortunate demise of Ivan and promised that all efforts will be made to bring the culprits to book.
NDLEA authorities and police to investigate the case of what happened, what led to the incident, and bring the culprit to book. We know that the security agencies are already doing that. They call the CP. The CP will soon be here now. Give more details, how far they have gone with their investigation.
This is a chilling story. I was heartbroken when I learned this story. It was too late for me to take because they were still doing an investigation there, which I don't really understand. What really occurred on Thursday was that the NDLEA officials were going on some sort of manhunt and they fired some stray bullets and the young boy died. I mean, this is so unfortunate. He even followed them to the office. They even engaged in some sort of, fisticuff or even, I don't understand. What I still don't understand, this is since Thursday last week, yes. And they're still talking about investigation. There is a clear video, Ayo. You saw those officials in the van.
Yes. So Mr. Femi Babafemi, the Director of Media and Advocacy of the NDLEA, took to Twitter to explain what happened last week, Thursday. Now, he said that they had gone for a raid in Okpanam area in Delta State. And when they got there, one of the guys was trying to make away and ran over one of their men, and he was injured. That the man is, the officer is currently in hospital. So whilst they were trying to chase him and destabilize his vehicle by shooting at his tires, the stray bullet hit young Ivan and also his younger brother, Eromesele. Now, when this happened, you heard the father in that video who was clearly distressed, was so disorientated, was referring to his son as his daughter. But irrespective of what the NDLEA has said, Oji, you're very correct. This happened on Thursday, the 13th. Today is Tuesday, the 18th. And yes, kudos to the Delta State Governor, Governor Sheriff Oboreri, for going. But what we want is not just him going there and visiting the family, which is good, and promising to pay the bills, the hospital bills of Eromesele. It is that justice has to be done, and it shouldn't take this long. If Mr. Babafemi can go onto Twitter to explain what happened, surely they know the men who went on that operation. They know. There were eyewitnesses to this as well. They know. We have footage already from these men. A simple investigation. What we don't want is for this to be buried. Look at the video. We can see, I mean, even though their faces are blurred, you have the plate number of that vehicle. You know the men who went out for that operation. Why is it so difficult to fish out the person who shot? Even if it was done in error or in mistakes, or as a mistake, we've had a number of stories of stray bullets in Nigeria. This has to be investigated. They have to, a thorough investigation to find out if that use of force was necessary and why it had to be applied, and then justice for that young boy's life. We shouldn't keep quiet about this. The case of the lawyer in Lagos State who was shot by, I saw an update in the papers that the judgment will be served in a few days. We need to follow up these stories till the very end.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't just make headlines when we lose a life, but what happens to those who perpetrated this?
About law and order, these people are there is no arrest made, and people are brandishing assault rifles. I mean, kudos to the Delta State Governor. Before I come to you in the meantime, this is just as 60 human rights lawyers stormed the High Court in Abuja to call for the arrest of the Director General of the State Security Service, Yusuf Bichi, over alleged violation of multiple judgments and orders of court directing the release of suspended CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele from custody. A civil advocacy group known as the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria has also condemned Emefiele's continued detention, stating that it is shameful that the DSS, which had failed to arrest ex-Niger Delta agitator Asari Dokubo, whose viral video trended where he brandished military assault rifles and threatened to bring fire and brimstone on a section of Nigeria has not been arrested and charged for illegal possession of firearms, but instead is pressing charges against Emefiele for alleged illegal possession of firearms. The group also queried why all the bandits brandishing military-grade weapons in videos have not been arrested and prosecuted by the DSS. Dr. Abati.
Okay, I recommended the piece by Onikepo Braithwaite, the editor of the lawyer section of this day newspaper, who today wrote a full-page piece titled Emefiele, that the rule of law may prevail. And we had pushed the argument that this is simply about the rule of law. The major issue that the lawyers supporting Emefiele are pushing is that, look, there have been 3 judgments of court in this particular matter saying that you either fight charges or you release this man. One ruling expressly said you can't arrest him, you can't detain him, because at the time, in 2022, it will send a wrong signal to the international community if you just pick up your CBN governor and then you lock him up. And without evidence, the first court in the matter said, if you have evidence, bring it. Don't go and arrest somebody and claim that you will be looking for evidence. Subsequently, there were other rulings, the most recent one on July 13, saying that, look, you have been keeping this man since June 10. If you have charges against him, file those charges. The same day, the DSS then told us through its spokesperson that, oh, they had filed charges. Now, when the document became public knowledge, it turned out that they were charging him for illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. They said they found, a Magnum 8317 with him, and then 23 cartridges of live ammunition, and that he had no license in that regard. Now, the main point being submitted here is that there is a court order. Okay, you have charged him, fine. He is still entitled to bail under Section 162 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. If you look at the weight of the offense for which he is being charged, why is he not granted bail? Has he been arraigned in court? It's not enough to just, flaunt a charge sheet and say we have charged him. What is the status of it? And you can't keep keeping him. That is why those lawyers are now saying, look, this looks like an act of contempt. And they troop to the Federal High Court to file contempt proceedings at the registrar's office, at the registry of the court, to say, look, the DSS has a case to answer. And they went a step further, saying that President Tinubu, in fact, should remove Mr. Yusuf Bichi, in addition to the court committing him to, prison for contempt. So these are the issues. But the main point made by Onikepo Braithwaite that I was referring to is that, okay, nobody is above the law, but allow the rule of law to play out. If a man is entitled to bail, let him have that bail. Under Section 35 of the law, there are provisions about fair hearing, even when a man has committed an offense. And in any case, you say you are charging him, part of the story is that you are charging him for terrorism and all of that. Yes, terrorism is an offense under the Terrorism Prohibition Act of 2015, Section 1 thereof. But where is the evidence that he was involved in terrorism? So, and I made the point, that look, since the matter is in court, we cannot jump to any conclusions. Because some people will say, oh, deal with Emefiele, crucify him. He punished us by introducing IRA design. No, people should keep their emotions. And the safe thing we can just say is that we would like justice to be done and that the DSS must follow due process. However, don't be surprised if tomorrow the DSS comes again and they say, oh, they want to amend their charges. Or they come again and they say, oh, they've secured another court order to continue to keep him. That's how our system operates. And it's not only Mr. Emefiele that is being treated this way. We have other persons. After all, it's the same issue with regard to the head of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. His own lawyers too are saying, look, we have court order saying release him, but you don't want to release him. With the head of EFCC, Abdulrasheed Bawa, it's the same issue. his lawyers are saying, you can't just take a man and keep him permanently. If there are issues, let the people know and follow due process. But let's see how the DSS responds to this and the explanations that they are given. But the most important point is that the lawyers are saying President Tinubu himself should take a look at the matter so that he's not accused of vendetta,
right?
So that he's not accused of vengeance. And some people say, well, all of this is happening because the CBN governor went into politics. And I said, whatever it is, he did not act alone. The president of Nigeria, President Buhari, as he then was, had executive powers under Section 5. Under Section 19 and 20 of the CBN Act, the CBN governor cannot take certain decisions without recourse to the president, without securing the approval of the president.
Absolutely.
So these are some of the questions being raised.
Yes.
But, to summarize, we just hope that the rule of law will prevail.
Right. Over the weekend, Rufai, I spoke with SAM Fushika, who, talked about the fact that even this firearm possession that the federal government has charged Emefiele, which, we saw that case over the weekend, is a fine of about 20,000 naira. I mean, this is the charge that they have against Emefiele. But I think the main bone of contention for me, Rufai, is this brandishing of assault a rifle. You see the group calling, Emefiele's arrest as, a shame. In fact, it's almost making a mockery of the whole system at this point.
No, but Audrey, even a blind man knows that this is vendetta against Emefiele. Even the deaf hears that this is vendetta against Emefiele. The president gave himself out. He went to a foreign country and he called the CBN rotten. And he had pretty much made his point known as regards this. We all know the speech of Wagbe Naira Pamo and all of that. And the vendetta was so strong that when they tried doing this last year, the court rebuffed the DSS. But once President Tinubu was sworn in and they got their chance, we all remember the calisthenics that happened. How they used a private jet to go carry Emefiele from Lagos, bundled him and all of that with our own taxpayers' money, only for us to see the charge sheets. But they've kept him there for a long month. They've ransacked his homes.
Allegedly, I heard it was about 300,000 naira.
Yeah, so they've ransacked his homes. I mean, if they found something incriminating, they should be able to put it on the charge sheet after a month. But you see, I said something earlier on, and I think I need to break it down. It's either we are trying to build a funny democracy, a democracy that is a joke to the world because there's no respect for rule of law, or we are trying to build a phony democracy, which is a fake democracy, which is a pseudo democracy, which is militarism. And that's why you see that they are making arguments they are not balanced. Look at the non-state actor brandishing a weapon.
Exactly, that's the point.
Right there, look at the non-state actor brandishing a weapon.
Yes.
Should anybody, and the DSS have not been able to do anything. But why would you blame him? Because this non-state actor also goes ahead to claim that he's so important that the president invited him. So when the president invited non-state actors, and right there at the villa, he came to take a swipe at the military of this country, and nothing has been done to him. So when I said earlier on that some people are bigger than the law in this country, I have been proven right. He took a swipe at the military, a very respectable institution, but there were no consequences. Brandishing a gun on live video, there was, I think somebody even wrote a petition as regards this. Nothing.
Right.
So we see how our country is playing out. And I ask again, do we want a funny democracy? Because all of this, the world is looking at us and laughing. This is the Nigeria that wants to be the giant of Africa. Or a phony democracy. And when I mean a phony democracy, a democracy that it's only in name, but the cardinal point of a democracy, which is the respect for the rule of law and the fact that the leaders can restrain themselves from their own personal interest, is no longer the order of the day. So I submit to Nigerians this morning, what kind of democracy do we want?
Well said, Rufai. We'll take another story. On his first homecoming as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas said that the 10th National Assembly would create a constitutional role for traditional rulers in the country. The Speaker, who stated this when he paid homage to the Emir of Zaria, Ambassador Ahmed Bamali, in Kaduna State over the weekend, was ushered into the palace with a colorful durbar. The Speaker further stated that the majority of members of the current House of Representatives understood the importance of the traditional institution in the country, and that he recognizes a paper that was presented by Traditional Rulers Council across the 6 geopolitical zones in 2020, where they clearly stated how they want the traditional institutions to function in this present dispensation. Well, in the same vein, Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka over the weekend called on the federal government to declare a national public holiday for traditionalists in the country. He made the declaration on his 89th birthday celebration. Soyinka said traditionalists had been neglected for too long in the nation, and that it is high time that they get their recognition, adding that traditional religions deserve annual holidays like Islam and Christianity.
It's about time we demanded, on behalf of traditional religions, an annual holiday like Islam and Christianity. We've had enough. We had enough of being second-class citizens in this nation. So, equal time, equal space, we demand public holidays. We demand it of state governments, local governments, and the federal government. We want an annual public holiday.
Annual holiday for traditionalists. Dr. Abati, both stories.
Quickly, because we're running out of time. Number one, Professor Wole Soyinka, what he's saying there should be placed in proper perspective. You recall that recently in Ilorin, there was a lady, Madame Omolara, who wanted to lead the Isheshe traditional festival. And then people went and attacked her. They threatened her. And they said, look, you can't do a traditional festival. The Isheshe festival is for the worship of Oshun. You know, because they say this is Ilorin. And that on the orders of the Emir of Ilorin, His Royal Majesty.
Really? So there's a state religion in areas of Nigeria?
Well, so they claim. They use the name of the Emir.
Wow.
So they intimidated the woman, and Professor Soyinka came to her rescue. He now wrote a direct note to the Emir of Ilorin, Sulu Gambari, and it was a very scathing piece, you know, about Sulu Gambari. You are not omniscient, you are not omnipresent, something like that, which was widely published. Now, on the occasion of the public presentation of his latest book, Selected Poems, 1965 to 2022, a retrospective, he then made this same point, that look, in fact, traditional worshippers, religion worshippers, should even be allowed to have their own national holiday. This is the context. If Christians can have, if Muslims can have, then traditional religionists should also be given a national holiday when they want to celebrate. After all, Section 38 of the Constitution recognizes the freedom of thought, religion, and conscience. And the subsequent section recognizes the freedom of assembly. And Section 42 says you can't discriminate against people. So he's making a point about rights. So he repeated the point. And then he went a step further. He said you are stopping traditional religion worshippers. How about the architects of violence? How about ISWAP? How about Boko Haram? And that, look, what we hear from the security people is that files are always disappearing. Those ones are not prosecuted. The people who want to practice their own religion, they are the ones you want to intimidate. So he called it 3 demands from the House of the Muse. That was what he called it. So that's the context in that particular regard. As for traditional rulers playing a role, they used to play a role. The Lancaster Conference in London in 1957, I mean, there was a delegation of traditional rulers that were there. Traditional rulers from different parts of Nigeria. They were part of the negotiations. Under the 1963 Constitution and the regional constitutions, we had House of Chiefs. In fact, some of the traditional rulers were even governors. Alhaji Muhammad Sanusi, Emir of Kano, at the time was acting governor of northern Nigeria. Sade Soji Aderemi was governor of the western region. But you see, after 1966, Unitary Decree 1 of 1966, all of these were abolished. So since then, people have been demanding, many of these traditional rulers, they are retired ambassadors, educated people, that they have a role to play. So that's what the Speaker of the House was alluding to. The form it will take will be a matter for public debate.
Well, all right. Well, thank you all for your great analysis on What's Trending Today. Well, that's all I have for you on What's Trending Today. I'll see you all tomorrow.